And let's now bring you the conversation on immigration in South Africa. I'm being joined live by my guest, Chairperson of Africa Diaspora, Vusumuzi Sibanda. Glad to have you join me, Sibanda.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners.
Okay. Now, the white paper is supposed to provide a framework for immigration and as well as citizenship in South Africa. But what really has been the role of this white paper framework?
But look, the purpose of the white paper ideally is to communicate the policy of a government department in terms of what it intends to do, as far as its policies in the department are concerned. And this particular white paper, comes at a time when South Africa is trying, and this has been the song that the Minister of Home Affairs has been, singing for a very long time, that he desires that, they never acceded to the United Nations Convention on Asylum and Refugees of 1951, and the OAU, they didn't really need to, the 1967 one. So basically, the Minister of Home Affairs feels that he's shot down by the Refugees Act, and it makes it impossible, for the Immigration Act to be fully implemented. So it has nothing to do really with the protection per se, but it has everything to do with South Africa desiring to move away from, that convention, so that it does not have obligations, towards asylum seekers and refugees. And furthermore, if you look at the citizenship part of it, there is a Citizenship Act which is very, very clear and which develops, further from the Immigration Act. So, but the idea is to try and minimize the number of people that can get citizenship in South Africa.
But what has been the operational guideline of the South African government, and why has it not worked so far?
Well, the operational guideline of the South African government has always been, the United Nations, Convention of 1951 and the OAU on asylum seekers and refugees, and the Immigration Act, and of course, the Constitution of South Africa, which unfortunately the Minister of Home Affairs thinks that they are too liberal. They have tied him down in a lot of ways. He complains about the 20 Afghans that came to South Africa, applying for asylum, and the courts, ruled that they were entitled to apply. So the problem basically is that the Minister of Home Affairs has had a lot of judgments against him in cases of deportations, especially for asylum seekers and refugees, and therefore he feels that that bottleneck is not making his work a lot easier, and he feels that the court does not have a place and should not have a place in deciding immigration and refugee-related matters. Those were the guidelines, Constitution and the court, and unfortunately, they've found him wanting in a number of cases.
Let's talk about the refugees in the country at the moment. Do you think this white paper would adequately cater to this bracket of people?
Well, look, the white paper basically, as it is, it doesn't really say much. It just says that it wants to bring together, to harmonize, to use the words of the minister, the Immigration Act, the Refugees Act, and the Citizenship Act, and probably the Border Management Act. But remember, the Border Management Act only came in about 2 or 3 years back. So you would be wondering why go to all the lengths of coming up with the Border Management Act and then want to change it. So when you look at the refugees and asylum seekers, this could actually mean, the end of a more liberal and constitutional process in South Africa of seeking asylum, because what is being sought is to try and disenfranchise South Africa from having, responsibilities towards asylum seekers and refugees. If you look at the white paper, it actually quotes a lot of countries that did not fully accede to the United Nations Convention on Asylum Seekers of 1951, but that had reservations. So South Africa is trying to pull out now and rather not domesticate the convention.
We understand that there are Zimbabweans in South Africa yet to be granted permanent residency. What do you think is the role of the Home Affairs Minister in all of this?
Well, the role of the Home Affairs Minister is basically that he was supposed in 2021 to have made a decision, to extend. But even if he had not, in terms of the law, he should have noticed that ordinarily, due to the long-term residents in South Africa, they should have been given some more permanent residence, but he has refused. And he is actually hoping that the white paper is going to be dealt with, by January, as he has said, in terms of the public commentary. And I would not be surprised to see that behind curtains, law is already being, enacted, which is going to be put for public comment and maybe to be quickly rushed through Parliament, so that this is done before the end of June 2024, so that the minister, because according to the white paper, he seeks to have sole jurisdiction and to take away the jurisdiction of the court from these issues that relate to, these exemption permits, because he says during the apartheid era, it was only the minister who had to do that and the courts were not involved. So he's not happy with the court's involvement, which has actually ordered him to restart the process de novo and make sure that that is done by 30 June. And I suspect that there is a desire to come up with law and hope that it can apply retrospectively and disenfranchise all the Zimbabweans that are relying on that particular court proceeding.
Thank you so much for your expertise, Vusumuzi Sibanda, the chairperson of Africa Diaspora Forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.